Hi, George Durkee, Geography 63, creating a basic map. And here I will cover week 4, your final map project. And you've got two choices. You can create your own map from work you're doing either in another class or something you're interested in. And in that map, I'm going to want essentially the same things we went over in weeks 2 and 3. Symbology, labeling, and aesthetic considerations of a map. And label placement, make sure the symbology contrasts nicely with the map, and anything else you can think of. It needn't be anything fancy. Just show me that you understood weeks 2 and 3, and that you understand the basics of what goes into a map. And then you'll turn that into a PDF and send that to me. The second choice is what I'll cover here is we'll create a map of the Columbia campus. And I've put a geodatabase onto the Canvas files, and I'll give you guys a link to that. And for those of you playing at home, I'll put it onto my G Drive if you want to download it from there. And for both maps, if you create your own map or the Columbia campus map, uh, the workflow is the same. You get a rough idea of what you want to say, what data you want to bring out so that people understand your story or the importance of the data. So you want to visualize the map you create. Then you choose the data that'll help show that. And we're just working in draft form here. You might just put a whole bunch of data in there, or as the map progresses, you might think of other data that will show things better. So that's a moving target, but that's the basics. You want to throw some data in there, and then you want to outline a workflow of how you're going to achieve that. And obviously, all of those workflow points feed back on each other. They'll change as you go, but those are the basics, and they're also the basics for pretty much any map you do. Now, for the week 4 Columbia map, I'm going to introduce some new techniques and tools, and that's why I want all of you, even if you're doing your own map, to watch this video anyway, to learn some of these new tools. You may or may not use them in the map you're creating, but they're pretty useful, and they're definitely techniques and tools you'll want to understand if you continue with GIS. So for instance, we'll use a mask, we'll create a mask to emphasize an area of interest, and as we move along, you'll see what that means. We're going to work with a couple of rasters that I've put in. We're going to derive hillshade from a digital elevation model, a DEM. And hillshade is a technique that allows you to give depth to a two-dimensional map. It looks like it has hills, and they just pop out when you use hillshade. We're going to use a couple of new editing tools that I've not covered before. For instance, we're going to reshape polygons and delete a couple of polygons. We'll use the swipe tool to compare two existing layers, one on top of the other. We'll clip a larger data set for the area that we want to see. So in a case like this, we've got a huge data set of in this case, Tuolumne County roads, but we only want a small subset of those roads. So I'll show you how to clip those just for what you need. We'll add a label field to an existing feature class. That'll be the campus buildings. And we won't have to do all the buildings, maybe just 5 of them. But I'll show you how to add a field to an existing feature class and of course edit that such that you can add the building names. And there'll be other fun stuff as there are in all of these fun lessons we've been having. So here's a draft of the map I want you guys to create if you do option 2. And you'll first notice that uh, the surrounding area of the campus here is kind of grayed out, and the center is pretty clear. And that's what's called a mask, which is one of the techniques I'll be showing here. And you might find it useful because it emphasizes a particular area that you want folks to see or focus on. So, for instance, the Tuolumne County emergency operations map shows the county clear, and the surrounding counties that have links to their emergency ops maps will be kind of grayed out, but you can link to them. And this is done by taking a county boundary file and then filling it with a light gray and increasing the transparency so that you can see what's underneath, and then erasing uh, the center to the boundary of the campus. And then what I've also done, which we'll go over, is I've created a buffer of 100 meters around the campus boundary to just increase the real estate as to what you can see. Also included in your data set are the buildings of the campus, and I've included two. One is the Columbia Campus multi-patch. I've derived that from LiDAR, LiDAR set that was done in this case in 2011, though another one was done in 2019. And I've also included just a regular buildings shapefile, although it's in your geodatabase. And what I'll want you to do with one of those is to create a new field and add the name, add a name field or a label field, whatever you want to call it, and then add the names of, let's just say, I don't know, 5 buildings on campus, and then in your map, I'll want to see the labels show up for them. And also notice we've got the park horse here and a road layer. Now, for both of those, that's just the default that Esri, that the Arc Pro gave when I brought in the files. So my guess is that you will decide that that's really not a very good symbology for roads and trails, and you'll choose something different. So for instance, for roads, in the symbology set, just look up roads and see if any of them would show better for what you guys want to show. Now for the boundary, what I'll also show there is I derived the boundary from a county parcel map and file, and I the parcels associated with Columbia also extend south here, but just for aesthetic reasons, the main campus is really all we wanted here. So what I did was I deleted the polygons of some of the extending parcels, and then I took all of the parcels in the area I wanted to represent, and I merged them all so that there was only one boundary. And there was some weird little squiggle up here, so that gives us an opportunity to reshape the final polygon. And then from that, because I'm having so much fun here, I buffered this polygon 100 meters, as I said earlier, to give a little more there to show the campus. Now for a base map, I'm using right now a satellite image on your Esri base maps. And incidentally, that includes what's called a hybrid reference layer. And you can use that because it's got place names, and uh, being a map company, they're pretty nice here. Yankee Hill Road, notice how that curves around in the shape of the road. But what I want you guys to do, though, is to uh, do your own labels and get that curving effect if you decide that's what you want, and choose the color for the label and for the road that you think is best. let's get rid of that for the moment. But that'll just give you an idea of what you can do and maybe what you want to aim for. Now, also included are a digital elevation model of the area. Again, LiDAR derived. I was having so much fun with LiDAR. And you'll notice that's kind of almost fuzzy looking. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But from a DEM, you can derive what's called hillshade. And that, in this case, is just the ground layer. And so that shows you uh, the ground layer in hillshade and gives it a 3D type effect. And there's a lot of things you can do with that. We'll use one of those effects uh, for our maps when in my next class, emergency operations maps, and I'll show you a cool effect you can get on your maps with that. But in any event, here you can see all this area up here, and it really shows up the amount of erosion that was done by hydraulic mining in the 1800s. And right now it's all covered with trees, so that wouldn't be immediately apparent. So the hillshade here, as I say, derived from the digital elevation model, shows that up pretty clearly and is kind of cool. So that'll be included, as will what's called a DSM, a digital surface model. Now, you won't have to necessarily use this one, but it's another neat type of layer. I'm kind of wanting you guys to see, what's out there as far as types of data you can use is derived from LiDAR files. And what happens is that a fixed wing, but you can also get it from handheld drones or even satellites. But fixed wing in this case is flying overhead and emits a zillion little pings, laser light comes down, and then it measures the reflection and the round trip distance to get back to the aircraft. And from that, it calculates the distance both from the ground and to the tops of the vegetation and anything those pings hit in between. So what you can do with LiDAR is you can get the ground layer I just showed you, but you can also get everything in between, the surface of all of the terrain, which includes the trees, and then down to the ground when there aren't trees blocking it. So in any event, this is a surface model of all of the trees and ground, depending on what's at the top of the profile. And you'll notice you get really good resolution. Here's the tennis courts and the nets, the fence around it, and I don't know if that's a vehicle or what, but something there. And anyway, you can pick up a lot of stuff with this. You can see vehicles over here in the parking lot. And again, we're just including the DSM. You may not want to use it, but that's fine. I just, again, I want you guys to see there's kind of cool stuff out there. And another thing we're going to do is I've included all of the Tuolumne County road system. And I'm going to want you to clip just the area roads, the area immediately around your map. Uh, Part of that is you just reduce data clutter just to the area that you want to emphasize and show. But part of it too is in my early days anyway, I had 8 gig of RAM on my computer, and it just took forever for the roads to build. And so uh, sometimes it's useful just to clip a large data set to something smaller and more manageable. And when I increased my RAM, it didn't make any difference. The road layer will now build fine and quickly. But just as a side note, that's one advantage of clipping a layer. And we'll also clip the raster. We'll clip from the larger DEM and then clip to the uh, campus area. And you'll create a uh, square polygon or a rectangle or something like that and clip to that shape around the campus. And last, let's take a look at another fun tool we can use here is called a swipe tool. And this allows us to compare two layers pretty quickly. So you use the swipe tool and you swipe and you can see the underlying layer. Uh, and this may or may not be too interesting where we use the satellite image showing the vegetation and then the ground layer of the hillshade. Now what I originally used this for in the LiDAR map is I used it as a comparison tool between the 2011 LiDAR set for Tuolumne County and then the 2019 LiDAR set to compare the fuel profile, 1 to 4 meters, the so-called ladder fuels around campus, to see how much vegetation clearing have been done in those years. And there's some, although just as a side note, the main clearing has happened after 2019. It would be great if some of you guys are involved in drone mapping, if we could get another drone set, LiDAR set of the whole campus. Anyway, I think we'll hold it there, and in the next video, I will go over step by step each of these techniques and tools you'll be using. And as I say, uh, for your maps, I want you to improve both the symbology and the symbology of the roads and park horse, for instance, even those buildings. I don't know if blue is the color we want there, but I wanted something that would show up. So anyway, improve on all that. Use your best aesthetic sense, and and the same for those of you doing your own project. If you can include any of these techniques in your own project, that would be great. But if it's your own project, you might have probably do have your own workflow, and so stick with that. Okay, that'll do it. See you guys in the next video. Thanks.